Hello everyone. Okay, so in our previous tutorial, we have created the structure and the style of this bouncing ball loader. Now it's time to animate it. Okay, so what we are looking at right now is the first keyframe of the animation. So it's when the distance between the ball and the shadow of or the imaginary floor of the animation is at its maximum, so maximum distance. The next keyframe is when the ball hits the floor. So if we here set again a temporary background color on this element, just because we want to see the boundaries of the box, we want the ball to reach this point here. Okay, so let me make the loader bigger. Well, it's not working because I guess, okay, the last step of the previous tutorial was setting the size in line. So let's remove that. Let's go back to the CSS. Okay. So we have to translate Y. The ball. Let's enter a random value of, for example, 50 pixels, just because we want to check the direction. Okay, it's going down. So we can actually store the end position of the ball into a custom property. Okay, so we're going to create a new custom property, then copy this and paste it here. Now we have to translate why the ball. First of all, we have to translate it by the entire size of the loader. But if we save it, you'll see that the ball is now outside the box. So we have to remove the sides of the ball itself. So ball sides, and let's remove it from the sides of the loader. And now we have the final, the end point of the next keyframe of the animation, okay? Now to test the animation and to talk about the timing function, we can do something like this. We can trigger the animation on hover of the bouncing loader. So we can copy this, paste it here, copy this, remove the ending position from the initial status of the animation, and then apply a transition here of 0.4 seconds and save. So now when we mouse over the animation, you can see that we have the transition, the transformation from the initial value to the next one. Okay, so now we have a specific duration for this animation, an initial value, and we have an ending value. Okay, so there is another variable that changes the mood of the animation, which is this variable, the timing function. So for example, if here we specify a transition timing function equal to linear, okay, let's try this value. So I haven't saved yet. Now, this is the current animation. Now let me save with a new timing function, and let's check again the demo, and you can tell right away something is different. So we have the same duration, we have the same initial and ending values. We have changed though the timing function. So the timing function controls the acceleration of the animation. So in a way, with the timing functions, we decide when the animation has to speed up and when it has to slow down. Okay, so the first value we have tried is linear, and linear means there is no acceleration at all. So we have a constant speed across the animation. So linear is used for flat animations. We can use something different. So this is linear, but we could use, for example, ease. Ease is the default value. So if we don't specify anything, the default timing function is ease. Now ease means speed up the animation at the beginning, then slow down in the middle, and then speed up again. So it goes like speed up, slow down, speed up. And if we check, it's the same result we had at the beginning, okay? We also have other values. So this is ease, then we have ease in, and then we have ease out. So let's try ease in, for example. With ease in, we have an animation that starts slow and then speeds up at the end. So ease in, let's say it again, starts slow and then speed up. Ease out is the opposite of ease in, which means start fast and then slow down. And so linear ease in, and ease out are the presets that we have for changing the acceleration of our animations. Now that we know about this, let me just remove the transition. Let me remove the timing function because we want to switch to the animation property. So what we're doing here on the ball element, we're going to define an animation equal to something like bouncing loader ball animation. Then we can specify a duration of 0.8 seconds and we are done. So in here we can enter a keyframes rule because we haven't really defined the keyframes of the animation. We have to copy the name of the animation. We are going from 0%, which is this point here where we have no translate y defined, so translate y is equal to 0, to 50% when we want this to happen. Okay, let me remove the hover, we don't need it anymore. And then the 100% is back to the translate y 0. Now, you may have noticed that we haven't really defined the translate y here. And also, when we want to change translate y, we also have to define again translate x. Well, that's because in CSS, unfortunately, right now, transformations, they override each other. So now they are supporting the browsers right now a new way to set the transformation, which is by using only the function directly as a property. So it will be like translate x and then the value, so that you can then specify, for example, in this case, you would specify translate x only in here to center the element horizontally, and then you would use here only translate y 0 and then translate y right here of this value here. We can't at the moment because this new way of writing transformations is not supported yet by at the time of this recording, at least, by almost any browser. So we are gonna stick with this longer version, okay? And save. And now you can see we have the transformation, and it's happening only once because by default the iteration count of a transformation is 1. We can change that by using the infinite keyword here. By doing so, we are changing the iteration count to an infinite loop. And now the animation is going on infinitely. Okay. Now, if we check this, what we have so far, you can tell right away something is off. This doesn't look like a bouncing ball at all. So if we compare, for example, with the final result of our tutorial, you will see immediately there is a difference. So what's happening here is that the timing function is completely wrong. So if we stop this animation for a second, okay, now if we think about the acceleration and motion of a bouncing ball, it will be something like this. So the animation accelerates when the ball is actually slows down when the ball is at its highest point, and then it speeds up when it's at the bottom here. So it goes like fast, slow, slow, fast, because we are considering two directions. So we're moving from, it's like a two motions animation. We have the ball going from up to down and from down to up, okay? So when the ball goes from top to bottom, it goes like slow, fast. In the opposite direction, it goes like fast, slow. And then you get the motion of the bouncing ball. So we have to change the timing function. So let's start by specifying a different timing function here. So with animations, you can do just like with the transition. You could specify an animation timing function as a separate property. But we're actually going to remove this and add it here because it works just the same. So we will specify an ease in. Okay, ease in, remember, means start slow and then go fast at the end. So slow, fast. And considering the motion we were talking about before, is the first step of the animation because we start from here. So it's slow, fast, okay? Ease in and save. Now, obviously, it's not looking right here either. Well, that's because on the other direction of the animation, so when we are here at the 50% point, we have to change the timing function because it has to go from slow, fast to fast, slow. So in here, we can specify a different animation timing function, okay? Timing function, which is ease out and save. Now you can tell it's looking already way better, okay? And you can optionally, we could stop here and call it a day because, well, it's a bouncing ball animation. But actually, if you really want to be picky, if you want to learn more, just stick around because we are gonna talk more about timing functions. So in a way, we are saying, so it's not really possible to create a perfect bouncing ball animation by using the presets that we have in CSS. Well, the answer is no, we can't. It's not possible with by using ease in, ease out, ease, or linear. So we have to create a custom timing function, and that's where things get interesting. So I found this beautiful website about timing functions where you can preview and create a timing function. So what you see right here is a visual representation of this curve, is a visual representation of a timing function. Okay, so imagine that we have on the x-axis time. So this is the starting of the animation, this is the end of the animation. And then we have on the y-axis the progress or the value. So this is the initial value, this is the end value. So I know it can look a little bit daunting, but don't worry because the way to interpret the curve is not so difficult after all. We have to think like that. So when the curve is more flat, that means that the animation is slower. While where the curve is steeper, that means the animation is becoming faster. So in this case, we have an animation that starts slow, then it gets faster, and then it slows down again. So it's some kind of custom ease animation. So fast, slow, fast. We can preview the animation on this website. The linear will be something like that. So with the constant speed, and you would have something like a flat animation like this one. Now in a case like this UI component here, in this specific case, I would go for an ease out animation. Slow, fast. So in terms of how to change the curve, it will be something like this. So steep, so fast at the beginning, and then flat, so slower at the end. And you get something really nice like this. So you can change the curve, and when you do so, you will notice that these numbers right here are changing as well. You can copy this value here, go back to the project, and what you can do is you can change the timing function by replacing this value here with a cubic bezier curve. And this is how you create a custom timing function. Now, the problem with the presets that we have in CSS is that they are not very, they're not very dramatic. If we check the curve in ease, the default ease in CSS is something like that. So it's not so far away from a linear curve. Okay, it's like this, which means there is never really an acceleration. So it's never really slowing down, it's never really speeding up our animation. So we could make it more dramatic by pulling this and doing something like that. like if we were to do something really extreme, you will see that in the middle the animation is so steep, is almost vertical. The result that you get is something like this. So the problem that we have with the presets is that they're not really so intense. And that's why the bouncing animation is not really looking realistic, let's say. So we have to create a custom ease out and a custom ease in timing functions, which are more dramatic. So luckily we have already done that in Codeframe, but just to show you what's behind these custom properties that we are going to use in a second, the standard ease in preset in CSS will be something like, the ease in is like that, okay? The ease in is like this, so slow, fast. Now it will be the standard really like this, so not really so extreme. So in the custom properties that we have in Codeframe is more like this, okay? So basically it's a custom properties that stores a cubic bezier similar to this one. The ease out, the basic ease out that we have in CSS, so the curve behind the preset is something like this, let's say. So it starts fast and then slows down, but there is not really a strong acceleration. What we have created in Codeframe is something like this, okay? So it starts really fast and then it slows down. Okay. So let's go back to the bouncing ball. So imagine that when we have created this custom cubic bezier for the ease in and ease out, we had copied these values and replaced the ease in and ease out that we have here. And we are actually doing so by using custom properties from Codeframe. So this was an ease in, right? So we're using a variable ease in from Codeframe, and we are using a variable ease out, always from Codeframe, which, just to make sure you understand this point, is just like copying the cubic bezier that we had created before for replacing ease in and ease out with more dramatic timing functions. Now, if we save, you see now that the bouncing ball is looking way better than before, okay? And that's how you create beautiful animations in CSS. That's why I can't stretch enough how important it is to understand timing functions. It's not enough to set the duration, it's not enough to set a starting and ending point, you also have to properly set the timing function. Now, just to end this animation real quick, we can remove the light gray background. We can add an additional animation, this time to the shadow. So real quick, we're going to create another animation. This time is going to be bouncing loader shadow animation. We can duplicate this, change the name of the animation, because this time we want to change the shadow, okay? The initial value is going to be this one, which is also going to be the ending value, because we have 100% here. Right here, we want to change it to... So when the ball hits the floor, the shadow should be smaller. So we want to scale it on both the X and the Y, sorry, and the X axis. Also, because the shadow is closer, the opacity of the shadow should be higher at the 50% keyframe. So we are also going to copy this and paste it here at the 50% keyframe with a value of 0.4 or 0.5 and save. Now we just have to, refresh because something was wrong with the rendering, and now you can see that looks great. I mean, we have this more realistic effect with the shadow increasing and decreasing in size. Using the setting function here is fundamental, otherwise they would look disconnected. And we're also changing the opacity because the ball is getting closer to the floor. Now, because we are using the same duration, we can also, just because we want to be great at writing CSS, we can just, right here actually, we can create another timing function, which is animation duration 0.8 seconds, whoops, and save. Now we can copy this animation duration and we can replace these two durations here with this variable and save. Now, in the future, if we want to change the duration of the animation, we can do it right here. So we can make it slower, we can make it way faster. Okay, I think 0.8 seconds looks just fine. Okay, that's all. That's a lot to take in. So just take your time. I know it's stuff which is not really simple, but it's gonna make your animation look way better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.